Oh, so greetings, and please set your motivation to set the proper motivation, which is the Mahayana motivation, which is to attain enlightenment for the all the sentient beings. And so with this proper motivation, let's begin today's session. So I was checking so it's been 23 weeks since we started this online class. Today is the 23rd session, I think. We started in May, and so it has been 23 weeks now, and I hope that it has been of some benefit for you. So when I say benefit, it should benefit you in your life. Firstly, it should impact or affect the way you think, how you handle things, and from the way you think, the way you react also is impacted, and from the way you react to the situation and people around you, your life is also impacted. So with the Dharma sessions that we had, if there was some positive notes, and it's important to take them down, take notes of them, and try to improve, try to invest more on that. And if there are if there isn't much changes, much transformation, much improvement, then maybe this is not something that is for you. So it is important to check yourself, check your practices, check yourself and check your practices, check your development regarding the practices and all that. In other words, important to check yourself, how you are doing things. So okay, in this regard, we can now begin today's session. So today's session is called the 12 things that you cannot do without, or the translation here, it's called the 12 essential things. So the 12 things that one cannot do without, 12 essential things. So that is the topic that we will try to cover today. So the first instruction, the first point of today's instruction. So those of you who are new, we are actually covering what is called the instructions of Master Gampopa, also known as the precious garland of the Supreme Path. And of that book, we are covering a certain topic named 12 things that one cannot do without, or 12 essential things. So the first point of the 12 essential things, or the 12 things that one cannot do without, the first one is the importance of fear. Fear is very important here. So I think I will talk a little bit in quite extensively about this topic here. So when we say fear, we are talking about not fear of Dharma or fear of God, or in any of that way. So when we say fear, actually the instruction here is talking about deep fear of life and birth and death. In other words, deep fear of life. Or to put it more plainly, the fear of the scarcity of life. So scarcity and preciousness, they come together, hand in hand. To know that life is scarce, to know that life is precious. And because it is precious, it is something that once it is lost, it will never come back. Of course, when we talk about life in general, we die from this life and then we get rebirth in another life, and it goes on and on and on. But we never come back to this life. So whatever life we are going through, whatever life that we have right now, this life will never come back. We will be born as another human being. We will be born in another country or continent. We will be born as another species, an insect or a fox or a frog or a pig or a bird. Or maybe human beings, as I said, we will be born in another country. Maybe we will be born in the same country, maybe to the same family even, but we will never be back as we are right now, who we are right now. So who we are, what we are at the moment, this is something precious. That this comes only once, as they say, it's a once in a lifetime thing. It never comes back. So there is the scarcity here. Whatever potential you may have will never come back. The potential that you have right now is something that you have got now and only now. So so the scarcity of life, the scarcity of life, this is something that one must ponder, one must think over. And because it is scarce, and it is important, and it is valuable. Just because it is scarce doesn't mean it is important. But a life that we have, the human life, is not only scarce, but it is also valuable. It has a lot of potential. So therefore, it is something that we cannot afford to lose. And so that fear, the fear of not being, the fear of scarcity, that is something. Because of that, we need to. Okay, let's say this: the fear of scarcity of life is what drives us to practice the Dharma. So therefore, the very first essential thing, the very first thing that we cannot do without it is fear. So here it says fear of death and birth. So death and birth are intertwined. Without birth, there is no death. Without death, there will be no birth. If you never die from this life, you will never be reborn. To be born, you have to die first. And to die, you have to be born as well. So life, or birth and death, are intertwined. It's this two sides of the same coin. Without one, there will be one cannot have the other without having one. If you want life, if you want birth but not death, not possible. If you want death but no birth, not possible. To be born, you need to die first. And to die, you need to live, or to be born first. And between death and life comes what we regard as life. So life is that time frame, time, short time we have between death and birth. So therefore, life in another in another understanding, life is nothing but a time frame. And every time we breathe in and out, every time we speak, we are living or wasting our time, living or wasting our lives. If we are doing something meaningful, something beneficial, then we are living our lives. If we are doing something destructive to ourselves as well as to our surroundings, then we are wasting our lives. So this is something, the first thing we need to know. The first point is to have fear. And from fear comes faith. If you fear of something, then you will rely on another thing, another person, another matter to escape from that fear. So that is how one develops faith. And faith is a different subject. It's a big subject. We can talk about that later. So when you have strong fear, you will have stronger faith. If you do not have fear of the scarcity of life, then you will not have a deep faith in the Dharma. Because if you think you are doing very well by yourself, then there is no need to rely upon anything else or anyone else. Or anyone, let's put it that way. So when there is the necessity, when you understand there is a finite amount of time to what we regard as our life, then we know that sooner or later we will die. There is an end to our lives. And when that end comes, we have nowhere to go. We do not know how to travel, how to go from there. We have nowhere to go. So in order to equip ourselves with the tools for a better travel, when the thing called this life comes to an end, it is important to rely on something or someone. And that reliance, the point of reliance here we are talking about is no other than the triple gem, the three jewels, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So that reliance, trust on the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, entrusting yourself to the Buddha and the Dharma and the Sangha. In other words, that is called refuge. So to have proper refuge, it is imperative that you have proper fear of the scarcity of life, fear of the incessant amount of suffering and misery that is going on in samsara, that is in your life as well. One moment we are happy, one moment we are up, we are going up, one moment we are going down. And when we think we are doing very well, bad things start coming. And when we think everything is going down, good things also starts to come. We only have to look very carefully. When we look very carefully, when everything seems to be down, things gradually, we also see slivers of hope. And when we think everything is going up, if we look carefully, we will see there is so many things that will drag us down as well. So this uncertainty of life in itself is a misery, is a suffering, is a form of suffering. So there are three types of suffering. Suffering of suffering, suffering of change, and the successive suffering.
Rinpoche,
Yeah.
you just have said about the three types of sufferings.
Oh, okay. Right.
So
the three types of suffering. There's a suffering. So simply put, it's called the suffering of change, and all-pervasive suffering. So this incessant, the vicious cycle of suffering, happiness, unhappiness, happiness, and unhappiness, going round and round and round. That is the all-pervasive suffering, and the fear should be there. The fear of all-pervasive suffering, the fear of scarcity of life, will drive us to have stronger faith in the Dharma. And when you have stronger faith in the Dharma, we will be able to develop stronger. When we have strong faith in the Dharma, our refuge will be much more firm. And so that is the first of the 12 essential things. Now, so you have the fear, and because of the fear, you have faith. Now, when fear and faith are both formed, so you are afraid of some danger lurking. You want to escape from that danger, and then you look for help. And then you see the triple gem who can help us. But we have no idea how to. Triple gem are a refuge. Triple gem are our protectors, because we seek refuge from them. They will help us. But the actual protection, the triple gem will provide protection for us. But the actual protection are not the triple gem themselves. So if you are suffering, Buddha cannot come and remove your suffering. Even though if Buddha appears in front of us, it will be such an unfortunate moment for us, and we will forget our whatever disappointment that we may have. We may forget it for a few moments. But whatever negativities, whatever negative emotions that we have, will still remain within. Because the Buddha came, it's similar to when there is a sun, when the sun is shining, the darkness disappears, the night disappears. So when the Buddha comes, or some great masters come in front of us, for that very moment, whatever darkness is lurking within us will go away for a few moments, or for a short moment, for that period of time, but then it will come back once that light has gone away. So even if Buddha comes in front of us, he will not be able to remove all the sufferings that we are going through. So the only way to remove our suffering, only way to remove the negativity, the darkness that is within us, the ignorance, the negativity, the darkness that lies within us, only we can do that. But we do not know how to do that. It is similar, let's say, this is similar to what I give you an example. It is similar to taking food for the first time. Your food can only be taken by yourself. No one can take your food for you. No one can eat your food for you. Your breakfast, your dinner, your lunch has to be taken by yourself. But if you are doing it for the very first time, your parents will teach you how to eat. You learn from how they are eating. You look at how to hold the spoon, how to hold the chopstick. how to hold a fork, how to hold a knife, and you learn from them how to eat. But the actual process of eating has to be done by yourself. So here we are talking about the learning process of how to eat. Eating is an application form of consuming food. Similarly, Dharma practice is the application. Practice is the application of the Dharma teaching. Dharma as Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Dharma as in the sense of Buddha's teaching. The actual application of the Buddha's teaching is known as Dharma practice or practices. So that has to be done by us, ourselves. Since, as I said, we have no idea how to practice properly, we will certainly require a teacher, a guru, a guide. And there are many forms of guide, gurus. We can have a map when we are when we are on a tour. Sometimes we take a guide with us, a person who will take us around, who will teach, who will explain what this place is, that and that. We also have, when we go to national parks or museums, we also have brochures. We can look at the brochures, and then we can look at the arts in the gallery. We can look at the objects in the gallery, and and look at the map or the brochure that we have, and try to correspond that with the information of the object that is on display with the map or brochure that we have in hand. This is learning Dharma from a book. Sometimes we may not be able to learn from a book. The book does not have all the details, right? So book, for example, the book tells a story of the great deeds of a person, right? When you go to a museum, the museum says, oh, this is a great person, right? Blah, blah, blah. So you have a question regarding what are the great deeds, great activities of that person? What are the great deeds of that person? Maybe whether, usually when we go to a museum, that it says the birth of the person, like he was born on this and that day, and he did this and that for the country, and blah, 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 like that. But doesn't say anything about most of the time, it doesn't say anything about his brothers and sisters, and, personal life is usually omitted in the brochures. So if you need to know more about the personal life of the great person in the museum, then you will need to ask from a guide, an actual person. For more information, you need to ask a guide. Detailed information, you need to ask a guide. So the Dharma book is there. All the Buddha's teachings, most of the Buddha's teaching, not most of the Buddha's teaching, but a large number of Buddha's teaching are in the book, in the sutras and the tantras. But without a teacher, without a guide, it is quite difficult for us to. It's like we have lots of books on, we have books on astrophysics, we have books on mathematics, we have books on science, and so on and so forth, But without a teacher, if you just grab a book of science and try to read it, even if it's translated in your language, if the book is available in your mother tongue, you will still not be able to understand anything without a teacher, without a guide. So this is where the importance of the role of a teacher comes into play. Now, after finding the proper teacher, so here it says also that one should find a teacher that will take you to liberation. So liberation is the destination, the end towards which one should be aiming for. And the teacher should be able to lead one to, so liberation here, we are talking about liberation from samsara, or liberation as well as liberation from misery, liberation from incessant amount of thoughts that is troubling us, liberation from troubling thoughts, liberation from worries, liberation from anxiety, and so on and so forth. So it's important when we when looking for a guru or a teacher, it is important that whatever teacher or whoever it may be, so can be a monk or a nun or a lay person, or does the teacher can come in many forms, and the person, whoever he or she may be, must be able to lead you closer to nirvana, to liberation. The liberation here we are referring to nirvana. And nirvana is freedom, independence from all forms of suffering, whatever suffering that you are going through, whatever misery that you may have. So therefore, even though liberation, nirvana, may not come in one day or just one moment, but the guru that you seek, whose help you seek, should be someone who will take you a little closer to your destination. You become little bit calmer, little less anxiety, little less worried, little bit more happy. Whatever help that you are seeking, that teacher or guru should be able to provide that a tiny bit, at least. If the teacher is not being able to provide you any of that, no matter how glorious the name of the teacher may sound, he may be regarded as the, let's say, #1 teacher in all over the world. He may be objectively, but he is not the right teacher for you. In other words, in another case, that teacher may not have the glorious name, doesn't dress properly, doesn't look that attractive, maybe not even a monk, not a Tibetan teacher, maybe just he may be a neighbor, he or she may be your neighbor, he or she may be just some beggar even. These were the cases. Like for example, Milarepa. We know the story of Milarepa. We know the story of Milarepa's teacher Marpa, who was a farmer when Milarepa came to look for him. He was farming, and Marpa's teacher, Marpa's teacher was Naropa. Naropa's teacher was Telopa, and Telopa, he was actually living as a beggar, a drunkard, and a fisherman. So appearances there are two things. One thing is that the guru's appearance may differ due to your karma. And another thing is, just because someone doesn't necessarily look good as a guru doesn't mean that that person is not a great teacher for you. So all in all, a teacher, a Dharma teacher, guru, when we say the guru, we are talking about a Dharma teacher. A Dharma teacher should be someone who will take you a little bit closer to the destination, to the goal, which is nirvana. Every time you meet that person, every time you have interaction with that person, leads you a little bit closer to that to that goal. Now that is your that is your guru. Any other guru, I'm not saying they are good or bad, or in any of this. This is very subjective matter, good or bad. The guru should be someone who is able to take you a little bit closer to your end goal. That is your guru. So this may differ from even within one family. In Tibetan, in our society, sometimes within the family, we all respect the different traditions and all that. We all respect the great masters in our society. But at the same time, the father may have one guru, the mother may have another guru, and the children have other gurus as well. Because not all of us have the same way of thinking. our mental capacity, our mental disposition are not same, even if we are born in one family. So we have different different teachers help us in different ways. So therefore, it is important to look for a teacher that will lead us to our end goal. And in order to do that, okay, so the point number 3 is one has to have wisdom. So wisdom, in other words, is like a clear light, a light. In order for the light, in order for to see something in darkness, we need light. When we remove all the light in the room, when we remove the sun from the equation, the earth will be in darkness, total darkness. When we switch off, what we usually, the term we use is switch off the light. When we switch off the light, we're actually removing the light. When we remove all the light from the room becomes dark. So wisdom is that light. Whatever, wherever the light of wisdom is shown, pointed towards, that information is starts to appear, materialize for us. And we see that, and whatever information, whatever material, whatever object materializes before us, we can see them, we can understand them, we can study them. So wisdom is that clear light, and we need to shine that light, point that light towards the Dharma, towards the path of enlightenment. That is a very essential thing, something that one cannot do without for a Dharma practitioner, and that is the point number 3. Now, once we have the wisdom, we have the teacher, we have the wisdom, and just because you have the wisdom doesn't necessarily mean you will understand everything, and then everything comes into place. Everything, even after having wisdom, one needs to put due diligence, put effort. One needs to put due diligence, and one needs to, the consistency is the key. So here, the consistency, the diligence is likened to the armor, armor and bravery, courage and armory during a battle. So the point number 4 says one needs to have the armor and courage of diligence. So it is like when one is in the battle. So here we are talking about the inner battle, the battle between, like all the battles, it's battle between good and bad. And here we are talking about good thoughts and bad thoughts, negative thoughts and positive thoughts. So in that great battle, which is sort of an eternal battle that has been going for ages. So in that battle, one must always have the diligence. The armor of diligence is the key. When a battle is raging, when war is raging, when you are in a battle, if you remove the armor for a short period of time, the enemy will pierce you. The enemy will stab you. The enemy will stab you with their sword. So you need to be alert. Sometimes the alertness is likened to the armor as well. So here the diligence is likened to the armor. So when there is no diligence, so whatever alertness and wisdom, everything, when that is not consistent, your practices, your wisdom, your faith, when they are not consistent, when there is no due diligence, when that armor is taken off, when that guard is off, then the enemy will win over. The negative thoughts will win over you. So therefore, due diligence is essential. That is point number 4. Now, with it, when you have the due diligence, another thing that is very important is merit. So we know, you see, sometimes when we look, go into, I think it's all the Buddhist temple, whether it's Tibetan Buddhist temple, Chinese Buddhist temple, Vietnamese Buddhist temple, you see the monks praying all the time. So there are two praying. There are two reasons for praying. Okay, so there are many reasons for praying, but I'm just going to highlight 2 of them. There are 2 reasons for praying. One is we pray for things that we cannot do anything physically. Okay, somebody is sick. People are sick. They come to you for assistance. So we are not physicians. We are not doctors. So it is important for the person to seek the doctor's help first. So they are taking medication. They are taking treatment from the hospital. And at the same time, the patient needs merit. One is sick because of one's bad karma. So that negative karma has to be removed. That has to be that negative karma has to be put away. And for that reason, the doctor is called to treat the patient's sicknesses. At the same time, to remove the negative karma, one goes to the monk, to the temple to pray. So the monk cannot make the pain or the sickness or illnesses go away. Very important. Nobody can. Okay? I cannot. It's very important to know that. I cannot go away. I cannot make your pain go away, your sickness go away. So what I can do is that because you have prayed to me, so there is the connection, you rely on me to alleviate the suffering, the pain that you are going through. The source of the pain that you are going through is your negative karma, the imprint of the resultant form of your negative karma. So that negative karma, because you ask the monks to pray, the monks can reduce the harshness of the negative karma. To totally destroy the negative karma, you have to do it yourself, of course. But you can ask. So this is like because, okay, if you want to build a house, if you want to build a big house, you cannot do it by yourself alone. You need architects, you need builders, you need lots of labor. So you hire them. You hire them to build a house for you. So when all the house is built, when the house is finally built, you said, okay, I built this house for myself. I built this house, right? It does not necessarily mean that you are the only person who is building that. Everyone who built the house for you, you pay them money. So you have tasked other people to do work for you by paying them. You have employed them. So similarly, you need to, the only way to remove your negativity is by yourself. But those that you cannot remove by yourself alone, you ask someone else to do it for you or with you. So that's where the prayers comes in. So there are 2 types of prayer. Monks are praying in general for the well-being of all sentient beings. And then monks are praying for specific people. People come to pray, ask, request prayer for their sick ones and loved ones. Because lay people, if you can do it, you do it yourself. If you cannot do it, then you ask the monks to do, large volumes of prayers, recite those prayers for them. And then they do the prayer for you. And so this is where the law of causality, karma, comes in, okay? Very important. Many people ask this question, how can praying by one monk help the other person who is sick? they are born from different karma, right? The person who is suffering because of his own karma, and the monk praying for the person who is suffering. What is the connection between the two? So what happens here is that the person who is going through the difficult time is actually tasked. It's like has employed, so to speak, employed the skills of the monk to pray for them. So in that sense, the prayer is expedited. And so therefore, this is how the prayer is helping. So, okay. So coming to the point, one reason for doing a prayer is as I said, the monks by praying cannot make the disease go away, but it can help to reduce the negative karma. And when that karma is gone, the Four Noble Truths, suffering, the source of suffering, right? So when the source of suffering is gone, when the source of the negative, the illness is gone, the illnesses will cease to exist. Stop creating more negativities. Stop creating more illnesses. That's the first thing for praying. Another thing for praying is we pray to accumulate merit. So merit and what we usually refer to as karma, they are like the polar opposites. They're not exactly the polar opposites, but let's just think of that in the polar opposites. Because of you have karma in one hand and you have merit in one hand. So in order to reduce the impact of your negative karma, one needs to accumulate as much merit as one can. So merit is another word for positive karma. Normally when we say karma, we are referring to negative karma, right? Oh, it is my karma because I suffered this and that. And when we are going through something good, we don't say karma, right? Whenever we are going through something bad, when we are having a bad time, we always say that's our karma for Buddhist. So actually karma has two sides, a white side and a black side. Karma has a smiling face and a karma has a frowning face. Karma, the good face of the karma is usually referred to as merit, sunam. And the bad face, the frowning face of karma, is usually referred to as karma itself. It's really not very fair to karma because karma has two faces, a smiling face and a frowning face. So in order to deal with the frowning face of the karma, we need to befriend. We need to accumulate the friendship. We need to accumulate the merit, which is the friendlier, smiling face of karma. So by doing that, one will be able to balance out the negativity versus positivity. So in this regard, in the monastery, we used to say, in order to gain a bag of wisdom. So let's say a bag can be big and small, a bag, right? In order to gain a bag full of wisdom, it is important to collect or accumulate a sack full. A sack is something very big, usually like over 20 kilos, over 10 to 20 kilos. That is usually called a sack. A bag can be maybe 1 kilo, just half a kilo is also a bag. So a bag and a sack. In order to accumulate a bag of knowledge, in order to accumulate a bag of wisdom, one needs to accumulate one sack of merit. And that is in order to collect merit, in order to accumulate merit, we do our prayers. So these are one of the I'm just highlighting two of the very important reasons why we do prayers, to accumulate merit. But it is not necessary only through prayer that you accumulate merit. One can accumulate merit through many different ways. If you help someone, you're also accumulating merit. If you somebody has a humble, somebody has a sincere question and asks, when someone is asking a sincere question and you respond to that question, you are accumulating merit. There are many different forms of accumulating merit. So here, point number 5 is Labsum da Tsonyi ki Chomum Bisawashi. So, a huge accumulation of a huge amount of merit is necessary in order to practice. So the next is the view. So the next instruction says that a view that understands the reality of all phenomena is essential. So view is very important. Normally in our everyday day-to-day life, we always have to have the right view. We always want to have the best view. We do not usually refer to that as view. We always say that as, I want to know, having the truthful information, right information is essential. That's why we watch newses, hoping to get the right information, the right view. So there are many, when there are many different news channels, so they are always sided towards one point or another point. So we try to look for the most unbiased, non-biased news channel. And sometimes when we cannot find that, we watch two polarizing news channels. One says all positive thing about a person or a point, one that says all the negative thing about a person or a point, and then we combine the two and analyze ourselves, so to get a non-biased view. So view is very important in our day-to-day life. We call that by different names, such as reality, knowledge, information, so on and so forth. So right view here refers to unbiased view. And that unbiased view in spiritual terms, in Dharma terms, we call it the reality of all phenomena. So reality of phenomena, reality of the nature of phenomena, or reality of phenomena. So the very name, the very title, nature, tells us that it is not artificial. It is not man-made. It is what it is. What we see is what is really there. So that is the meaning of nature. So nature of all phenomena, right? The nature of all phenomena. That is what we have to realize. And that view is, so in that regard, view is very important. Another example, let's say when we go to watch a movie or when we go to watch a show, we always need to have the best seat to have the best view possible. So there was when we go to watch a game, if we sit on the very top, very high position, we could see everything going on. So there was this quote by the master Padmasambhava, Guru Rinpoche. So he said that one's view should be as high as the sky. If you look from the sky, you can see everything, right? But at the same time, one's conduct, behavior, interaction with other people should be as fine as barley, tsamba. So barley is, think of barley as a flower, so one's view should be as high as the sky, but one's conduct should be as fine as a barley. Just because you have such a high view should not be high view should not be confused with pride. Just because you have the view of the Madhyamika, just because you have the view of the highest view of the emptiness, you are able to, because you know that everything is inherently non-existent, inherently non-existent. Because you know that everything is interdependent, because you know that everything is the nature of emptiness. Just because that you are not going to drive your car over somebody, right? You are not going to say, oh, okay, everything is, has the nature of emptiness. There's no inherent existence, so I can just drive my car through the wall. You cannot. If you try to do that, you will have an accident. If you drive your car over a person, you will kill that person. So there are two realities here. Essentially, all things are empty of having an inherent existence. But at the same time, on the more conventional level, everything does exist. So remember the story I told you some time back about going on a journey in a train or a bus. So there is the ultimate reality, which is you want to get from point A to point B. That is your main goal, right? But it takes time. It takes a day or two, a week to get there. In between, you will be having, you will have restroom breaks. You will have restroom breaks. You will have lunch break, dinner break, and all that thing. But that is not the main goal, right? Your main goal is to get from point A to point B. So similarly, the view is that main sort of spectrum here. And in order to have that proper view, in order to, just because you have that view doesn't necessarily mean you are enlightened. And in order to become enlightened, in order to get from point A to B, which is to say, from the point where you are suffering to the point where you will never suffer, ordinary state to enlightened state. In order to do that, you need to have proper conduct, disciplined conduct. Just because you have a high view, do not belittle other people. Do not denigrate other people. People who have no views of the, who have no understanding of the Dharma, people who have lesser understanding of the Dharma, do not denigrate them. Do not belittle them. Right? So, view of the reality, view as high as the sky. The reason the Guru Rinpoche, Lama Tsongkhapa said that when you are in sky, you can see everything, right? But from sky, you cannot do much. In order to interact with, in order to do something, you have to actually come down to earth, meet people, talk to people, interact with people. Only then you can do something. If you just sit on top of, if you just sit up there in the sky, we do that all the time when we are flying. We are in the sky for a certain amount of time. We cannot do anything. We are in the plane and we just look at things down there. We cannot do anything. In order to do something, we actually have to come down, interact. From the actions, the actionable activities can only be performed on the ground. So therefore, one's actions, one's conduct should be as fine as flour, fine as tsampa. So the right view is important. Yep. Oh. Okay. Okay. So I stop here for. Okay. So we will stop today's session here, and open up for questions and answers. So if you have Q&As, if you have questions, you can ask them directly or pass it on the chat. Or if you're watching it on Facebook, you can also post the question there, and our moderators will pass it to me.
Okay.
Miss Yan, we have some questions.
Yes, we do, Rinpoche.
Please.
Prostrate to Rinpoche. We have two questions right now. First question, would you please recommend which one we should accumulate more, wisdom or merit? In other words, should we pray more or read more Buddha's texts? Thank you, Rinpoche.
Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you. It's a very, very good question. So we usually say to become a Buddha, one needs to accumulate one needs to complete the two accumulations. Completion of the two accumulations result in Buddhahood. So the two accumulations are called accumulation of wisdom and accumulation of merit. So both are important, obviously. So the question is, so it is a question that one needs to ask oneself in this regard, what do I need more? So there are two types of people, right? People who doesn't really like to bow down to other people, doesn't really like to, like to question a lot, like to question authority, like to investigate, doesn't really like to believe everything people say. There's that one breed of people are like that. And one breed of people are okay, what's the point of asking questions all the time? If someone wants to lie to you, they will lie to you. So I will have my own belief system, and I will be very comfortable lying in my own belief system. And within that belief system, I will have total faith. So in other words, there are people who are more attuned towards faith, and then there are people who are more attuned towards gathering information or knowledge, right? People who like knowledge more, people who prefer knowledge more, and people who prefer faith, trust, faith, and what's the word? Security, let's say, to be secure, to feel secure, right? People are easy to people who are easy to people who rely upon others, and people who have deep faith. So there are people who have people who prefer faith more, and there are people who prefer the wisdom, knowledge more. And within that category, within each of those categories, people who have more faith, people who have who are familiar, who prefer faith, but also wants to learn a lot, right? And then there are people who have who give more preference towards knowledge, but at the same time wants to find some reason to believe, to have faith. So it depends entirely upon yourself, upon oneself, whether what is one's own preference, what is the mental disposition oneself. You only know that yourself. And another thing is the second category. So that I'm referring to the second category. Second category is that even though you want to learn more, you may not have that much wisdom, right? Not everyone is sharp, to be honest. So then let me be blunt about it. Not everyone is born to become a scholar, right? So, and not everyone is also born to become a believer. So whatever position that you are comfortable in, you should do that. If you are someone who likes to learn a lot, then study more. If you are someone who likes to pray a lot, then pray more. So people, and it is important always to encourage those who like to read a lot to have some faith. It is important to encourage people who have lots of faith, but never discourage them from having faith, read. But also some encouragement should be given so that they also have faith. If someone has strong faith, no discouragement should be given in that regard. Tell them to read a little bit. Whatever is your strong point, one should harness that. That is your biggest point. That is your biggest investment. That is where your strength lies. So one must utilize that. That is the talent that you have. That is the talent that you must showcase. That is the talent that you must treasure, that you must cultivate. Whatever talent you have, harness that, and then develop some other talent more. Whatever strong point you have, always invest on that first. And then try to gain some more knowledge, some more tools, some more talent. Okay, next question, please.
Okay, thank you, Rinpoche. The next question is, could you please give an example of a right view versus a wrong view?
Yeah, so as most of you already know, in Buddhism there are four, even in the Sutrayana, there are four different Buddhist schools, right? So the right view and the wrong view differ. So the four Buddhist schools, I'm not talking about four lineage of the Tibetan Buddhist school. I'm talking about Buddhism in general. There are four Buddhist schools of thought. In other words, philosophical schools. So within that philosophical school, the view is challenged. The view as stated by one philosophical school is challenged by other. So in this regard, it can vary from one school of thought to another school of thought. But generally speaking, all the four Buddhist school of thoughts, Vaibhashika, Sutantrika, Chittamatra, and the Madhyamika, the four Buddhist school of thought, they all agree on one thing, which is that law of causality. In very simple words, if you do good thing will come. If you do bad thing will come. Karma, law of causality, law of karma. If you believe that if you do good things and bad things might come, that is a wrong view. If you do bad things and good things will come to you, that is a wrong view. If you only things, good things will come to you. Only by doing bad things will bad things come to you. So law of causality, understanding the understanding of the law of causality, right? The law of karma, that is the right view. When one's views goes against the law of causality, then that is the wrong view. That is accepted by all the Buddhist schools. So normally, like Tibetan Buddhist school, I think Vietnamese and Chinese Buddhist also similar. I think, yeah, in Tibetan Buddhist school, most of the Tibetan Buddhist, I think 99.9% of Tibetan Buddhist school follow the Madhyamika school, in which regard the ultimate view is that all things are empty of having inherent existence. So emptiness, the view of emptiness is the ultimate view. But it can change when we talk about the mind-only school, which is quite predominant in the Chinese Buddhism. And so, yeah, right view, from good things come good things, from bad things come bad things. That is the right view. From good things comes bad things, and from bad things come good things. That is the wrong view. It's easy for us to say that, right? But the thing is, the view here is we are talking about more in a visceral form, in the sense that how does it make you feel? Not just how does it make you think. We're not talking in a more academic and intellectual sense of right and wrong. We are talking about more personal form of right and wrong here. So in this regard, in a personalized form of right and wrong, do you really feel bad when you are about to do something that is considered bad? Or you think you make up an excuse by saying, okay, I'm doing this for the greater good of this and that, and then give yourself that excuse mark, excuse tag, and do it anyway, right? So how sincere you are to yourself, how are your, all these things come into play.
We lost the last signal, the last take. When you feel bad, you do. When I feel bad, I will do the best.
Right.
The last.
So, okay. So the last. Okay. The summarize. How I summarize it was that you know something is not right, but you do it anyway because you have a selfish motive inside. So you do it anyway and make up an excuse saying, okay, I'm doing that for my community. I'm doing that for my family. You're actually not doing it for your family. You're actually doing it for you, who is attached to your family, who is attached to your society, your culture, your belief system, your Dharma center, your, I don't know, your lineage, whatever. You are attached to these peripherals. And in order to disguise your, in order to cover up your attachment to the things that is associated with you, you say, oh, I'm doing it for my monastery. I'm doing it for my guru. I'm doing it for my this and that. But you are actually not doing it for them. You're actually doing it for you, who is attached to all those associations. So in this regard, right and wrong view should be thought very carefully, analyzed very carefully. You have to be very sincere to yourself. You have to be very truthful to your own belief, to your own conscience.
Thank you, Rinpoche. There's one more question and there's one acknowledgement. Maybe I'll read the question first. So the question is, Rinpoche, to find a guru, it takes wisdom. So how do we get that wisdom? Thank you, Rinpoche.
Yeah. So that's another very good question, very important question too. So in the Pramana Vartika, the commentary to the logic, there's a particular text called commentary to the logic. So in that particular text, there was a question regarding. So the statement was made. A statement was made that in order to in order to validate a teacher, one must check the teacher's the teaching. The validation of a teacher comes from the teaching, and then so how should one validate the teaching? And so the teaching should be validated because it was spoken by the omniscient teacher, the omniscient one. And then it goes around and around, and so which validates which. But then at the end of the debate, the answer is that so what it comes to is to validate the teacher. The only way to validate the teacher is through his teaching or her teaching, and that teaching has to be based on truth. What we call in the Dharma, we call that the base. So base that can. It's quite difficult to find an objective base. Usually, most of the base is somewhat subjective, even though there are objective bases such as impermanence, emptiness, and interdependency, and selflessness, and things like that. These are objective realities. These are objective realities, but at the same time, it is difficult for us to understand them, comprehend them right away. So what comes next is more personalized version, more personalized realities, basis. So in this regard, as I mentioned earlier, depending on what your mental dispositions are, what your mental capacities are, what your mental troubles are, what trouble you are going through, if the guru, supposedly, who the teacher, the person who was supposed to be who was going to become your guru, if that person has an answer to that, and if that person can lead you a little closer to your main goal, which is to get away from suffering, get away from misery. No guru can get rid of all your problems just like that, right? It has to be chipped off little by little, every day, every week, or maybe every year. So if in this regard, one cannot deem someone to be one's teacher within a few days, or when people come to approach me and say, be my teacher, I never accept them, because they just like what I speak and maybe how I look. So they are attracted in a way to my appearances, not who I actually am and what I actually represent within. So it is important for them to know me for a certain amount of time. So it is important from the student's point of view. It's also important not to take someone to be your teacher just because that person speaks very eloquently. A lot of people do that. A lot of fraudsters, a charlatan, a lot of charlatans, a lot of people are tricksters. They speak very good. They have all the answers. They seem to have all the answers, and they do everything what you want them to do. If somebody is doing everything what you want them to do, maybe that person is not your guru, because they are actually playing to the tune of your music. You are the conductor, and they are playing to your tune. Maybe that's not your guru, right? Because the guru is not the orchestra. The guru is not meant to entertain you. If guru is doing everything that you want them to do, then the guru may be entertaining you, right? So the question regarding wisdom and how to gather the wisdom to judge judge the perfect guru for me. Whether you like it or not, the guru should be able to chip away bits and bits of your negativeness. If the guru can do that, whether you like him or not, whether you like his appearances or not, whether you like his conduct or not, he is the right guru. If the guru is just playing to the tunes of the music that you are creating, and your malicious thoughts, malicious behavior, malicious livelihood has not changed at all, if the guru is feeding your pride, then that the person is feeding your pride, then this is not your guru, right? The guru is feeding your pride. The person is feeding your pride. The person is letting you hear the words that you want to hear. Then that person is not your guru. That you should not take that as a spiritual guru. I mean, you can take them as other gurus. Maybe that's your computer guru or whatever you may call it, your yoga guru or your I don't know. But that's not your spiritual guru, because that person is not elevating you spiritually. Right? So the wisdom here, the wisdom to judge a guru comes in the form of judging yourself sincerely. From what I learned from that person, from my interaction with that person, have I changed spiritually, positively? Has my level, so to speak, elevated or not? If not, then don't take that person as your guru. You can always go and listen to Dharma talks. Listening to Dharma talk doesn't mean that person becomes your guru, right? You can listen to Dharma talks. So there's a difference between Dharma talks and Dharma teachings. Dharma talks, you can listen, everyone. Even if that person is not practicing what he's saying. He's still, if the person is a charlatan, if the person is not practicing at all, what he is speaking is that Buddha's word. So we can always listen to that. We do not have to follow the person. We can follow the teaching. So there's something called 4 reliances. So it goes like this. Do not rely on the person. Rely on the Dharma. Do not rely on the interpretable meaning. Interpretable words. Right. Do not rely on the words alone. Rely on the meaning behind. Right? Second one. Do not rely on the interpretable meaning, but rely on the definite meaning. Do not rely on the consciousness, because consciousness is always, it's like, consciousness is like bubble. It's always evaporating, it's always bubbling, evaporating. As you know, when we see an object appearing before us, one consciousness arises. Then when that object goes, the consciousness goes. So consciousness is not reliable. Rely on the primordial wisdom, right? So the 4 reliances. Do not rely on the person, speaker. Rely on the teaching. Within the teaching, do not rely on the words. Rely on the meaning. Within the words, do not rely on the interpretable meaning, meanings that are interpretable, but rely on the one that is definitive meaning. Within the definitive meaning, once you understand the definitive, once you are able to grasp the definitive meaning of the teaching, then you will be able to actualize the instruction of the Dharma. When you are actualizing it within you, now it's no longer from in your teacher's mouth or in the book. It is within you. Now, when it is within you, do not rely on the superficial consciousness that is always evaporating and appearing and then going away like a bubble. Rely on the primordial wisdom. So the 4 wisdom. So these, it's called the 4 reliances. Apply the method of 4 reliances to find the perfect guru for you.
Oh yeah. Thank you.
Rinpoche, we have one more question. Should we wait until next time, or we're gonna? Would you like to take another?
Yeah. Okay. Is it a long question? Short question?
It depends.
Okay.
Question may be short. Your response may be long. So maybe I'll read the questions anyways.
Okay.
So the question is, Rinpoche, in the 12 essential things to teach today, I like the verse number 4. Please tell me what is the best time to practice meditation and mantras. Should I do it before bedtime, or should I do it in a different time of the day? Thank you, Rinpoche.
Yeah. Again, very good question. So you can do it at any, like there's no time to do, there's no best time to do, like there is no blanket best time. There is no universal best time to do meditation. Because whenever, if you do not have time, for example, if you do not have time in the morning, then this method will not work for you. So you may have to do it in the evening. And if you are you have to walk in the evening, then this is not a good time for you. So it depends entirely upon yourself. That being said, generally speaking, doing meditation in the morning is very good because once you wake up very early in the morning, your mind is clear. You have whatever happened yesterday is almost forgotten. It's kept in bay. It's paused. It's frozen for a few maybe half an hour or 1-2 hours. Whatever happened yesterday is frozen, so you can begin everything fresh. So in this regard, what we usually do is get up in the morning, set our motivation, which is to attain enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings, and then do some emptiness meditation. Very good. This is sort of like a unpacking your essentials for the day. So whatever tools that you need to get on with your day, just unpack them. Compassion, a little bit of love, a little bit of warmth, a little bit of goodnesses, a little bit of positivity, because you will need a lot of positivity as you go along with your day, because you see, whether it is whether it's subjective or objective, we always seem to find a lot of hindrances, obstacles, negativities as we go along our day. So therefore, we need lots of courage, determination. We need all these things. So unpack all these tools in the morning. Cultivate those qualities that you will need for the day. Unpack all of them. Begin with emptiness. When there's emptiness, everything is possible. When there's space, you can park your car. When there's emptiness, when there's space in the mug, you can fill it with anything. So begin with emptiness meditation, then fill it up with love, fill it up with warmth, fill it up with determination, fill it up with courage, fill it up with confidence, and so on and so forth, whatever tools you may need for the day, right? Then when you get now additionally, if you can do it in the evening before you go to bed, do a short meditation of gratitude. Whatever good things that you have come for you today, be grateful, very grateful. Morning is for equipping yourself with all the tools. Okay. Evening meditation is for gratitude. Whatever good things that come that can by for today. You get a praise from someone, you get compliment for your work, and so on and so forth. Whatever happened, gratitude for all the good things that you experienced. You are able to experience that day. Have gratitude, and then rejoice. With gratitude usually comes rejoice. So rejoice on the fact, all the good things that have come, and all the bad things that have come to you as well. Try to develop understanding for them. Forgive people. If something bad happened, just forgive them. Forgiveness does not mean forgetfulness. Whatever, if somebody has wronged you, you can always deal with that person tomorrow, right? But it doesn't mean you hold grudge against that person. That's very important. If somebody has wronged you, you have to deal with that. Buddhism does not say do not deal with people who has wronged you. Okay, that's a very big misconception. Forgiveness is not holding grudge onto that person or the thing that whatever has happened. Do not hold on to it, right? That is attachment. Do not do that. But deal with whatever you have to deal tomorrow, right? So gratitude, and then end of a chapter. Then go to sleep. That's very important. So very simple. Unpack your tools in the morning with the morning meditation, and close it up. Close up the chapter, today's chapter, with the gratitude and rejoice meditation. Oh yeah, Tujiche, thank you. Come on. Yeah. Now we do the dedication. Yeah. Thank you. Gyewan di nyurdo da lama sangye chubgyuran jowa che kyang ma le ba di sala ke ba ochanjo semjo rembo che ma ye ba na menge gyuro che Gemba Nyamba Mebara Yon Kone Jin Jin Boy John Oh yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye. Thank you so much. Have a good weekend.
Good weekend.
Thầy đọc